Good afternoon, Chris. How the heck are you?
Hey, guys. I'm well. How are you all?
We are outstanding. Thank you so much for asking. Now, before we talk baseball, I do have to know if you caught the eclipse earlier and what you thought of it.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome. I got to be honest that I wasn't overly excited about the eclipse. I hadn't really subscribed to maybe all the fanfare that has been out there regarding it. But after seeing it, I get it now. It was a really cool experience, maybe a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to see something like that. And really, really neat. That was pretty awesome.
Now, at times last night, I thought maybe the home plate umpire had been blinded by a bright object. Was that abnormally off to you, or was that normal last night?
Well, just like players, umpires have good and bad games, and I haven't seen the official review of the game last night, so I can't really comment. Beyond just saying that I know how hard their jobs are. I think by and large they do a great job of it, and some nights you get some calls, some nights they go against you, and ultimately, we had some opportunities that we didn't capitalize on, but nonetheless, you got to give Houston credit. They pitched a great game and came out ahead.
How often would you say you guys send things to the league after the fact, just for clarification's sake? I would think Jonah Heim has probably been curious about that a couple of times.
Yeah, I try not to do it. I work for the league, and I was the recipient of those inquiries pretty frequently, and only when it becomes a consistent pattern do I think it really warrants a level of really dissection or breakdown by the league. And right now I think that ultimately I focus on what we do, how we can play our best baseball, and if we do that, really I don't get too consumed by calls going our way or not. I think you create your own luck, and it's kind of the mentality of our group, and I think it's served us well, and we focus on what we can control. And but if and when there becomes a time where I have to fight for our guys, I certainly will.
See, I was curious your take as a former pitcher when it comes to a lot of the injuries that we're seeing now with pitchers and big-name guys. I mean, heck, I know you deal with that right now with the Rangers and some of the players that are trying to rehab. But I think the MLBPA was saying maybe it's something to do with the pitch clock. The league pushed back on that. I've heard other people, pitchers like Tyler Glasnow, talk about the grip of the ball. Do you have any take one way or another on that?
I think that there are going to be a lot of different opinions on it, and I don't think there's any one reason. I think there's a lot of contributing factors to it, and honestly, I don't have enough data to really understand the extent to which injuries are happening more frequently now than they were, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, even 50 years ago. I'm not sure, and so I need to study that better to have a more formulated, intelligent opinion on that matter. But that said, I think there are a number of contributing factors. I think it's beyond just within the control of Major League Baseball. I think it extends to amateur baseball, collegiate baseball, and really some of the private instruction that kids are getting at such an early age. And I think that, when you combine all of these factors, then there probably has been an increase in the injury rate. And it's something that certainly as a league, as an industry and as a game, we all have a responsibility to protect the future, and we need to continue to study it and grow from it.
Chris, when I was in the National Football League, we were scouting your running backs, and we were always looking at running backs with a large number of carries. And you mentioned about collegiate baseball and stuff like that, and maybe some of the Little League baseball and stuff like that with pitchers. Is that something that you guys do evaluate if there's a pitcher that does have a very heavy workload through his young life as you get to the draft? Is that something that you guys would look at and maybe dock a guy and say, well, a lot of workload on that arm?
Well, I wouldn't say we necessarily dock a person for that, but what we do take into account what the workload has been, whether it's as an amateur player or as a free agent or potential acquisition at the pro level. And we want to understand everything we can in terms of making the best prediction possible moving forward, because that's what you're purchasing, right? You're purchasing the future, and you're making a prediction on how that player will perform in the future. And there are a lot of variables and factors that come into that. And certainly workload is previous workload in history is one that we do study, we do take into account. And we factor in our decision making. Equally important as especially with pitchers, is a biomechanical review. We try to really understand how their bodies work, and very frankly, some players are capable of putting on more stress or carrying a higher workload than others. And so we try to, understand that and make the best predictions we can.
Seems like it was about a month or so ago, there was an article in the morning news about Dr. Meister's, kind of like double Tommy John surgery. How is that, played out in your eyes from a personnel standpoint? It seems like the way it was written, it's an operation that really gives the pitchers a better chance of coming back strong and staying healthy for longer.
Yeah, I really can't speak to the medical aspects of this. One, I just am not educated enough. Dr. Meister is the best in the country at what he does, and we talk about it all the time. And so, yeah, Keith, he'd be a great guest on here. He'd be more interesting than me. So and he's a better talker than I am too. So you should invite Dr. Meister on sometime. But Keith's got really strong opinions and a unique perspective on this. Certainly this procedure that he is doing feels like he really reinforces the ligament and gives it the best chance of having long-term success. And I think it's proved to be true with some of his patients. And so, we're very fortunate to have him as our team doctor. And, ultimately, I think from my perspective, we factor in to some degree that this is an occupational hazard and that guys are going to get injured. And so how can you build a roster as deep as possible? How can you, prevent to the level that you can any injuries in terms of workload management and building in the depth and the roster protection should somebody go down. So it's a very complex issue. I wish I could say that we had all of this figured out, but as you know, we've got a number of pitchers recovering from surgeries, and but I am confident in our rehab team that we're going to get these guys back at some point this year, and they're going to be big contributors to our season.
CY, you've been very, very patient with Josh Smith and his development, and now it's a little bit of a next man up, and he's coming out and playing very, very well for you. Is there some satisfaction of seeing him have the type of success, here to start the year? As like I said, you guys have been very, very patient with him and allowing him to grow.
Yeah, and Josh, really, he's earned this. He's had to really put in his dues. He's obviously a very talented middle infielder who's been stuck behind, two MVP candidates in Marcus and Corey, and he's been able to get some time at third now with Josh going down. And young guys need runway, and I think a lot of young guys need 600 plus at bats in the major leagues, and we really haven't been able to give Josh Smith that consistently. Ezekiel Duran's the same, and so. But there's such a need for us in terms of the depth and the luxury of the depth that we have with those two players that, we love them here. They're big contributors to our team. Our hope is that we can continue to find ways to get both those guys in the lineup, 5 nights a week. And Zeke came up huge for us last year, and Smitty's doing the same this year for us. And that's what this game is about. It's about the next man up. It's about getting your opportunity and seizing the opportunity when you do get it. And Josh is doing that as we allow him a little bit of runway right now.
What's the latest with Michael Lorenzen and his rehab starts?
Yeah, Michael's doing really well. His last outing, I think, was right around 75 pitches, and I think he's going to get one more rehab start. Build up a little bit more, and then we'll slide into the rotation after one more rehab outing. So sometime in the middle of the 17-game stretch, we expect to get Michael back, and he'll slide in, and we'll figure the rest out at that point.
Are you looking for anything different or paying attention to anything, just jumping right back into this rivalry so early in the season, how you guys are responding here to getting in this Silver Boot series?
Well, first I'll say it's a great rivalry. I mean, it's Houston's such a talented team. Obviously, last year they got the best of us in the regular season, and then we were able to get them in the playoffs. But to come out and play good competitive games against them the first 3 games of the series, my hope is that we come out tonight and find a way to win the series. But we know it's going to be a long season. Houston is not going away. They're too talented. They've got a great team, great veteran players. So we're going to have our work cut out for us. But I think overall, I've been very pleased with the way we have played. I've said this, before the season. If we go out and we play our brand of baseball, I feel like we can compete with anybody, and night in, night out, have a chance to win. And even last night was a tough loss, but we were right there. Dane pitched great. Just couldn't get the bats going, but still scratched out a run in the 9th, had the tying run up at the plate, and just couldn't get a few more hits. So if we're going to lose games that way, I'm fine with it because more often than not, we'll win those types of games.
Are you surprised Houston's not having more success?
Well, I'm too smart to answer that question. I'm not going to fuel the fire. And, like I said, they're a really good team and they're not going away. And, different teams get off to hot starts, bad starts, good starts. And Houston's going to be right there at the end of the season. So I'm focused on the Rangers and not really too worried about what they're doing.
Should we be getting Sborzy back in about 15 days or so? You feeling good about it?
Yeah, Josh had just a little bit of shoulder inflammation. I'm glad he spoke up. Mike and Boach did the right thing in getting him out of the game when they saw him kind of adjust his arm. And so I think that we just want to – he's so important to our season that we want to play it safe on the front end, not take any chances, not put him in harm's way. So we felt like the prudent thing to do was to put him on the IL, give him 15 days to recover, relax, and then we'll get him back, and hopefully he'll be strong and fresh. Last year he battled a couple little injuries and went on the IL, and every time he came back, he pitched really well for a period of time. So it's something we'll continue to monitor closely, but I think we dodged a bullet there.
Yeah, not a question, but just, hey, bravo to the bullpen, man. Damn good start.
Kicking ass.
Really nice start, man. Making us feel great.
They've been awesome, haven't they? It's been fun watching those guys, and they're just all veterans. They know how to prepare. The young guys have done really well. Jake Latz, Yuri Rodriguez did great last night. Grant Anderson came in. It's just really fun to watch these guys. And our pitching staff, our pitching coaches, Mike Maddox, Brett Hayes, Bobby Wilson, our catching coach, they've all done a tremendous job of really preparing these guys night in, night out, and then putting them in the best position to succeed. And, let's hope that continues over the course of the season.
Well, thanks again for your time and this Team CY. Give them hell tonight. We'll be pulling for you.
Guys, thanks so much. Let's get a win, and I'll talk to you next week.